I like to steal a line from David Letterman to introduce my next guest and say my next guest needs no introduction. Joining us right now is Mrs. Sudha Murty ji. She's an Indian educator, author, philanthropist, and the chairperson of Infosys Foundation. Namaskara, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Absolutely elated to have you in person, sitting right across. Technology has made it possible for us to, be so far away yet in front of each other.
That's true. That's true.
When we talk about women, they women are part of us. My mom, my grandmom, that's where I learned how to speak. Be it my first language, which is Gujarati. I learned from my grandmother, when I used to be a kid. After that, my formal education started, and there again, there were teachers who were women. Every single step of my life, I have been made what I am today, and it's courtesy the women in my life. So there's no shying away, there's no hiding from the fact that women make the world go round.
That is true because uh, woman knows how to handle emotional relationship much better than a man.
Mm-hmm.
Only she is wired that way.
Okay.
Nature also gives her strength, and she learns this from birth in a different roles like sister, daughter, later wife,
Mm-hmm.
mother, the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law. So all delicate relationship she handles with a great care.
Right.
So that is the reason we say mother tongue because mother spends maximum time with children when they are young.
True.
So it's never a father's tongue; it's always a mother's tongue.
I totally agree with you when you say that, ma'am.
So came cho.
Majama, ma'am. Tame kem છો?
Maja.
this
Okay.
is this is so good to
Uh,
hear. This is so good to hear, ma'am.
mm,
Now,
yeah.
when we talk about women in leadership positions and women doing so much good in today's time, the challenges for a woman are manifold, as compared to a man who wears a suit, goes to office, does it work, comes back home, and as if like, oh, I've done a pile load of work, I'm not going to do anything in the house. That cannot be the same for a woman. I mean, you joined telco as the first female engineer back then in Pune, and the challenges over there, I'm sure, would have been incredibly high.
Yeah. Actually, I want to tell a very funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
After 49 and a half years, I went back to telco 2 days back,
Okay.
almost 50 years. You can say. And when I went, I was the only girl and rest were men. When I went to motor car assembly, there
Mm-hmm.
were absolutely no men and only girls who were doing the assembly of the two cars,
Wow.
two types of cars. I was the only girl in 1974.
Right.
Today there are 1,170 girls on the shop floor. So,
Fabulous.
it was something unimaginable things have happened in my life that I look back and there are absolutely no male,
True. This is
all
incredible.
girls.
This is incredible, isn't it? The the
Yeah.
the, the journey, and you have experienced it, like you mentioned. 2 days back you went there, and when you look at that metamorphosis that has happened over decades, what does so
Five decades.
5 decades, right? So what does Sudha Murty think when she joined and walked in as the only female, and when you look back at that time and say, listen, things have changed.
Actually, it was quite tough now when I look back
Mm-hmm.
because there was absolutely no encouragement from anywhere. Like, the college teachers were not happy because they thought, what is there to teach a girl engineering? It is not meant for the
Wow.
girls. In the industry, always men felt the machines are always operated by men, never
Men.
from a woman. And people were not accepting a woman can be in applied science like engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So they always doubt your efficiency. They always look down upon your knowledge and they never had faith.
True.
Okay. So it was a tough journey and not, and more than that, not acceptance, not
Mm-hmm.
acceptance.
Wow.
Okay. Over 5 decades, people have realized that knowledge does not have gender.
That's
It
right.
is in the mind you have gender. And knowledge is for those people who pursue it, who have a passion for that. So things have changed slowly, but towards positive side.
No, they definitely have changed, and we are glad that that change has happened. But then, for even for today's women, there are challenges. There are, because the role definition, yes, while the lines are maybe slowly dissolving, but still, in the mind, in the psyche, or probably in the upbringing, the thoughts are still there that taking care of the household is a lady's job. Taking care of children is a mother's job. It's that role again has not completely shifted, while the women of the house have gone out and picked up top jobs. I mean, you can't say that, oh, the top job, the CEO's job is only for the male. So how does those challenges can be overcome in today's time and age?
There are many ways to overcome that.
Hmm.
Number one, the most important thing is when a woman is married and she has a baby, her priority changes.
Right.
Until she is not married or until she is single, she can compete in everything. The moment she becomes a mother, the priority is always a child because women are wired that way.
Hmm.
And motherhood is attraction to a child is very strong. So the job priority may take a backseat, but still
Right.
women manage. If the woman has to become a CEO, you require a great support from the family. Okay. Whereas for a man, you may not require, man also requires, but not as much as a woman requires.
True.
So I always say behind every successful woman, there's an understanding man.
You've
The
changed
first
that
is the
line
first.
though. You've changed that line.
Yeah. Behind every successful woman, there's an understanding man.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it, ma'am.
Yes. Because he is the one who understands her passion, her ambition, and unless he supports, it's hard for her. Because he says, okay, don't worry. Today's PTA meeting, I will go.
Right.
But you have a meeting, you better go. And the man, unless the man whom she married or a partner will not support, then it's hard for her.
True.
Similarly, her parents or her in-law should support.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's hard. In my case, my parents supported a lot.
Right.
Okay, they shift. In my case, my parents supported a lot.
Right.
Okay, they shifted their base. They came to Bangalore, and my husband Narayan Murthy supported a lot. Otherwise, I would not have been in this position.
No, I'm so
Of
sure.
course, third one, children themselves should support the mother, working mother.
True.
It takes some time, but it is unless there is a family support, it may be hard for women to achieve the CEO position.
No, you mentioned about Narayan sir, and you were at Telco when you met him, right? So weren't there any thoughts? Again, I mean, we're talking about 50 years back, almost 45 years back. You got married, So weren't there the thoughts in the society back then with Narayan sir or his family saying that, oh, working girl?
Well, in my time,
Hmm.
girls used to work under three, four conditions.
Okay.
Number one, number one, if your father cannot, uh, he is economically weak, then girls should work and make money probably for marriage.
Okay.
Or your husband does not have a great job, then wife has to work.
Hmm.
Okay. And if husband is a doctor, then wife is a doctor. It is a prerequisite to start a nursing home. So things were so different that time.
Right.
And in my time, when I got married to Narayan Murthy, we were both, I know him 50 years, 45 years I'm married, but 5 years before that I knew him. So it was not definitely in Murthy's mind, working woman or something. It never came because
Hmm.
we respected each other. But later part of life, it was a great advantage because as a working, he could afford to leave his job and start Infosys, and I used to bring the bread to the table.
Interesting.
Okay. So in our relationship, it did not bother whether I'm working or not. But he
Hmm.
definitely knew I won't keep quiet at home. I will do something. I'm not that type who will say, okay, I'll be at home, I'll be happy. I'm not that type.
Right.
I always want to go meet people. I'm a more extrovert, a more meeting people, more people's person.
I'm so glad that that fire stayed on, and you've literally inspired people to take that path as well. Being someone who got educated at a time where education for women was not as open as it is today. When I studied communication, ma'am, in my class there were 14 boys and 56 girls. We had
We
a
were in minority.
we were in minority. We had a challenge in putting up a 16-member cricket team. We requested girls to be a part of the team.
I always feel that I know what it is to be a minority because in my class, There were always boys. So when the boys were less, I said, okay, please look after them. I said, girls, don't be so aggressive. Look after boys. I, I know that.
No,
There
so
were many challenges.
right, right. So, I mean, education today definitely has opened up, but has it been a similar progress in the work culture also within India? Internationally, people have opened up things, but within India, in pockets of India, there are still challenges with girls' education, with girls picking up jobs. How has that trajectory moved on, ma'am?
I will tell you, the change in the 5 decades has happened because women are more educated. Number
Hmm.
one is family planning. See, in
Hmm.
olden days, there used to be 4, 5 children.
True.
Okay. And in my time, 4 children was very common. And parents will say, if you are a girl, you should get a degree. Okay. If you are they have educated parents, they say you
Hmm.
should have a degree and the girl should get married. Which degree doesn't matter. BA, BSc, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Now it is not true. You have 1 or 2 children
Right.
and parents put a lot of effort for the child's education. It may be a boy or a girl.
Hmm.
And they walk any distance, the girl will get a better education. That's
Right.
the second point. Third thing is there are numerous courses also in the market.
Hmm.
When I was doing engineering, there were only three branches: civil, mechanical, electrical. Today in engineering, only there are thousands of
True.
options are there. Women who are in the city, urban area, and middle class family, they get a lot of opportunities to get good education and good economic openings.
Right.
But in rural area, people are aware, awareness has come, but the progress is not as big as in urban area.
Hmm.
This is what I have noticed. But it is possible because any social change requires time.
Right.
It is not like press a button, it happens. It's only computer.
True.
So any social change requires awareness, education, follow up, then ambition and support.
Right.
And that is slowly coming in India. So in some industries, women are majority. Like in teaching industry, go anywhere,
Hmm.
it is the women who are 80%.
I agree.
Okay. In software, it is maybe 25 to 30, 40%. 30%, at least women are there.
Hmm.
In administration, there may be 50, 60%.
Right.
But top CEO job, there is not this much, maybe 10%, maybe 5% or 10, 12%. Because to reach top CEO job, you require under 20 years time, then you may have
Makes
30%.
sense.
It takes time because woman takes a back seat when she has a child. By the time her male colleague would have gone 2 steps ahead of her. She can come back and join, but she has to put an extra effort.
That is so true.
So that's the reason the pattern is different in different industries.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that you make that, whenever man and woman are probably going and growing parallelly towards the same top job, if a woman has to take a backseat because of the child, pregnancy and then the child, and then at least a couple of more years till the child is big enough to be taken care by other family members or probably some external help, the woman gets back to work. So she does lose out on a probably the best time of her career in those 3 odd years. But today, with technology coming out so strongly, and with one thing that COVID gave us was work from home. Those challenges can be overcome, isn't it? Or does the society still say that no, you are the lady, stay at home?
Society will not say anything.
Hmm.
It is you who should make up your mind. Society will say, people will talk anything. That I'm not worried.
Hmm.
COVID has given an advantage work from home,
Right.
but it is not in all industry. It's only in certain type of industry. Suppose
Hmm.
you are a security head, you can't work from home.
True.
If you are in automobile industry, you can't work from home,
Right.
right? There's service industry, it is not possible to work from home.
Hmm.
Whereas the design R&D, okay, such things, such jobs you can work from.
Right.
And again, a place like Bombay, work from home is hard because you have a 1 or 2 single bedroom or 2 bedroom house.
I agree.
Husband is working, wife is working, and you have to log on for 8 hours. You'll get a lot of calls. So many people in a place like Bombay would like to go back to work because that's much easier. Once you finish your work, you can come back.
Makes sense.
Okay, so it depends on which industry and where you are working.
Hmm.
But of course, companies have become very nice towards women, and they give. In my time it was only 45 days, 60 days leave. Today they get 6 months maternity
Right.
leave. Okay. Father also gets my paternity leave.
True.
And you have baby care or baby crush next door in your factory. All these things are there. It's an advantage to woman. But again, she has to work a little bit more than normal
That is
once she
so true.
becomes a mother.
That is so true. Very recently, a very interesting thing happened in the world of sport, and that is the WPL. I'm sure that you're keeping an eye on that as well. WPL coming up after 15 years of IPL, and it did reach the success of probably becoming the biggest sporting tournament in the world. WPL coming in, and then it's our privilege to bring live ball by ball action of the WPL. So we're doing commentary from our radio station and putting it out to the people here in UAE. From women in sports perspective, what are your thoughts on the challenges that they face? Pay disparity, not enough support that we've seen all these years, and now doors are opening up for them as well.
Yeah, there will be a pay disparity, but that will also take time.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be, first of all, 15 years we never had WPL.
True.
Okay. Now we have this. We should not jump to the conclusion immediately. We should get as much as pay as men get.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, first you play. Actually, your performance talks about you.
Right.
Okay. So when they perform well, WPL has come. When they perform better, their scale will go up.
Right.
It is always performance lead to recognition. Recognition lead to honor. Honor leads to economic progress.
Interesting. I love that pathway.
Not society. It is a recognition. The kind of work you do that leads to recognition. Performance leads to recognition. It's very important.
Beautiful. Performance leads to recognition. I'm going to, there are so many takeaways from this conversation that I'm having with you. It's almost like going into, a management school and learning about human beings, learning about life. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. There is one side of you that loves books. What, 60, how many, 60,000 plus libraries?
70,000.
70,000.
70,000.
Wow. 70,000 plus libraries have been created, supported by the Infosys Foundation and yourself. Where did this love for books start, ma'am?
I come from a middle class teacher's family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My grandfather was a school teacher. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a professor and a doctor.
Okay.
My brother is a professor at Caltech. My sister is a professor in a Bangalore Medical College. So I grew up with books, not with money, not with the jewelries, not with expensive dress. The only gift in our house was for birthday or anything is always book.
Wow.
Book and books. We had our own libraries when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll lend the book, we'll ask the book, etc. So my friendship with books has started when I was 7 or 8.
Wow.
I fell in love with reading.
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love in the company of books than anyone else. A pehla pyar, pehla khuma.
Kya baat hai. Beautiful. Beautiful. And that love you're sharing and spreading with the world, I think that is the most amazing part. I'll tell you a small story about myself. Growing up during school, I was fascinated by science. Curious, absolutely wanted to know everything that's happening around me, and especially with regards to science. Like I read the story of thirsty crow, the crow that puts pebbles in the half-filled pot and the water overflows. I heard that story at school, came back home and wanted to do that experiment myself to see if that really happens. So after school, I picked up my favorite glass, filled it up half with water, and was putting pebbles from my outside garden to see if the water was coming up. My mom was standing there looking and staring, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing the thirsty crow experiment." She let me complete that experiment. She's like, "Okay, finish this and then come in for lunch." During that course of growing up, I went to my library and I picked up a book called, this book was How Did Air Start? And for me, that was probably about the creation of universe. Was it the Big Bang Theory? There were so many questions when I saw the title and I picked it up. In our school, we used to have this library time where once in a week you used to pick up a book, go home, read, come back and talk about it. I picked up that book. Little did I know that book was not about air that we breathe, but air All India Radio. And after so many years of studying pharmacy, I'm a research pharmacist by qualification, ma'am. After studying pharmacy, then communication, for the last 15 years, here I am talking on air, talking on the radio, and little did I know that one little book could change my life in this fashion.
Circle is complete.
Circle is complete, and I'm so glad that while I'm completing the circle, I have had the pleasure of talking to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining with us today in this conversation, celebrating women, celebrating womanhood, and celebrating every single day of our lives around women.
Thank you very much. Had a good time with you conversing and learning Pebble Experiment.
Pebble Experiment.
Okay, and All India Radio. Both are very nice takeaway.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Dhanyawad.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for joining
Bye.
us today. Sudha Murty ji, in this conversation, I think of all the interviews that I've done across my 15 years of career on radio, this stands right at the top. It was not an interview, it was a conversation, and this conversation I'll remember for my life. Thank you so much, Murty ji, for joining us, and it's absolutely my pleasure. Right here on TSV, we'll take a quick short break.